Ellen was cremated and an intimate repast ceremony was held by Judge Marshall and the family. The twins, Chase and Chance, aged 10, took the passing of their mother roughly. They struggled with understanding how she was present one day and gone the next. The boys repeated a phrase to the judge not even he could respond to. "Daddy, Mommy left us at lunchtime yesterday. She said she'd be back." As the guests left and the house cleared, the judge walked toward his office for a drink. He saw Stanley consoling the twins and asked Dolores to fetch him. "Dolores, please have Stanley meet me in my office." Judge Marshall's office was impressive. There were floor-to-ceiling bookshelves on two sides, and there were unique and perfectly placed ornaments throughout. Dolores delivered Stanley to Judge Marshall's office and study entrance, then left the two men alone. "I'm so sorry for your loss." "Cut the shit, son. I'm fully aware of your ongoing love affair with Ellen. She loved me, but she loved you more and differently. Ellen was my equal in social circles and in debate. She was an accomplished and highly respected lawyer before deciding to have children. After many attempts to conceive, we learned that it was me that was preventing us from getting pregnant. I could not give Ellen any children. We eventually decided on insemination, but it appears she preferred the old-fashioned way over our decision. For a while, I did not know. By the time I finally realized it, that the boys resembled you, I had already fallen in love with them. My love wavered initially toward Ellen, but then it recovered and continued to grow as I realized how they brought so much joy and fulfillment to her and to me." Judge Marshall continued. "Son, I can ruin you. I can destroy your career and devastate your family. Up until this very moment, I had intended to do just that. But those boys, they love their Uncle Stan. They will need you in the coming days and years. Perhaps they'll call you or come to call you Dad when I'm gone. The most important reason I'm choosing not to finish you off is because I saw you as you left Ellen's side for the very last time. I can't unsee my last image of Ellen. Seeing her unique and debilitating disease will haunt me forever. I find a tiny amount of satisfaction and joy knowing that you'll never forget also. I want you to hurt, and I want you to miss her as I have and still do, albeit on a different level. Now, do you have anything for me?" Judge Marshall passed a stiff drink over to Stanley. Stanley gulped it down. "I understand perfectly. I'd hoped that you did and would. Now, I understand that you're married." Yes, I am." "Well, maybe we can meet so our sons can play together. Ellen mentioned you had a son in passing. Perhaps they can form a bond and, who knows, get along." Stanley became visibly emotional and tears began to flow from his eyes as he responded to Judge Marshall. "I'm afraid I can't. My wife and I, we had a son, but my son Donald recently died." "Whatever happened to him? How long ago?" "Ellen killed him on the 7th of October, and we helped cover it up. Just before Ellen's death, she wrote a letter and made me promise to deliver it to the family. Only I and my wife, Emily, are the family that is grieving the loss of a son." Judge Marshall turned pale and got weak. He reached his hand out for balance and made his way to his desk chair. 4 days ago, this stunningly beautiful woman was escorted into my office with an issue that she was adamant that I could help her. She began to tell me this story of a man and a woman who were unfaithful to their spouses. This couple conspired and succeeded in covering up the death of a young boy and the injuries of a grandmother, a mother, and a newborn. She talked about a beautiful house in Maine, 2 lovely boys that looked very much like their equally handsome young father. She urged me to do something about it. When I refused and insisted that I had no knowledge of what she discussed, she told me to speak to my wife, and suddenly the phone rang. I tried to answer, and a serpent bit me on the earlobe. Before I became aware of Ellen's condition, somehow she knew. I thought it was just a strange, highly fictitious idea I had conjured because my secretary did not recall it as I imagined or thought it occurred. She told me there are things I have never seen and that I will come to know. Stan was not fully able to process what he was hearing. That was my wife. That was my wife. When I last spoke with her, she said she was giving me time to process my emotions. She can't have anything to do with this horrible occurrence. A phone started to ring. The judge did not recognize it as his landline or mobile. Stanley did recognize the sound and reached into his pocket to retrieve his phone. The call was coming from Stanley's mother, Barbara. "Excuse me for a second or two, this is my mother." "Hi Stanley, it's your mother, how are you?" Before Stanley could form a response, Barbara continued to talk. "I haven't seen or heard from you in days, Stanley. Is everything okay?" "Now was not a good time, Mom." "Okay, but don't worry. I know you're busy. You give me that tone. Can you call me later today? I had such a sweet visit with Emily the other day. She spent the night and wore my jammies. Tell her I enjoyed that time with her and I hope to do it more. I even like the cat and I think it liked me too. Call later, love you." Stanley implored his mother to stay on the line for a moment or two longer after this revelation. Wait, Mom. I'll be sure to tell Emily what you said. Emily told me she was planning on surprising you with a visit." Barbara knew this game all too well. She had just played it with Emily during her visit. Something was going on between the two, but she preferred not to get too deep into it over the phone, and she did not want to choose sides. She loved them both. Stanley attempted to make light of the visit in a slightly inquisitive way. "I think she was coming to Maine to check on me more than to see you. Emily is so jealous. It's cute. No, seriously, she'd love to spend more time with you. She is a gem. I told her to bring my grandson next time." Stanley choked up a little bit. "Okay, okay, Mom. She or I will see you soon. Everything okay?" "Yes, ma'am." "Yes, Mom." Stanley tried and succeeded in changing the intonation of his voice to mask what he was feeling, but before continuing to speak. "Did Emily mention visiting any other places? We did talk about the judge's wife. What's her name? She's the one who had that terrible car accident that you told me about." Barbara waited for something must be wrong with our connection. I can hardly hear you. You remember who I'm talking about, right? How is she doing, Stanley? Now Stanley was full of tears and crying heavily. He wanted to avoid explaining his fluctuating emotional state over the phone to his loving mother. In a rushed yet loving tone, he spoke to his mother. "Mom, I have to go. I love you. We all love you. Bye." Stanley ended the call abruptly. Marshall. She was there. In Portland, Maine, before the terrible things happened to Ellen. So she was there. That only means Emily found out about your affair and your twins. Hell, I found out too, remember? You two are not the most discreet cheaters I've had the pleasure of knowing in or out of the courtroom. If you are implying what I think you are, there is no way she can cause a horrible death Ellen had and not have some type of chemical bio experience, right? What was her career before you made her a full-time mom? I just don't understand. Something or someone caused this. Let's just say she could do it. Not how just yet. Do you think Ellen, me, or you deserve what has happened? Do we bear any personal responsibility here? No one deserves to die. Not like that. No one. Listen to yourself. You lost a young son. It's Donald, right? Aren't you hurting? Aren't you angry in the least bit knowing that not only did it happen, but also at whose hand it occurred? Of course I am. I mean, I also lost the love of my life. If that bitch is responsible for this, she'll pay, and you'll help me with the fullest extent of the law. Don't be a bully. Don't be unreasonable with your approach toward her. Let's just say she can make a phone cord turn into a snake and a woman's skin peel off. What strength or power could you use to combat that? Just think. Don't be foolish. Don't make a mistake. Right now, I want to take care of the twins and focus on honoring and preserving their mother's memory. Or they may soon forget her. That's what's important, right? You do what you must, and I'll do what I have to. Stanley stormed out of Judge Marshall's home and drove toward Hartford, Connecticut. He remembered shortly after starting his drive, he needed to stop at his pharmacy and pick up his heart prescription refill. He worried because it was over a 4-hour drive home that his pharmacy would be closed when he returned home, so he decided to fill his prescription locally. He called ahead to his pharmacy and had his prescription transferred to a Portland pharmacy for pickup at a local drugstore chain. Stanley started for a third time his long drive home. He stopped again at Worcester Diner and got 2 new sugar babies. He paid $8.25 and left a handsome tip. When Stanley was nearly home, he made a gas pit stop and took a bathroom break. He also took his heart medication.